Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Preface, Part 3. O the true Lord, O the Omnipotent, from your infinite mercy, grant this most humble servant success and courage to recognize your favors and to thank you for them, so that he may be able to thank you to some extent in letter and spirit, and practice for the external and internal favors of your holy religion. O Sustainer, how wondrous is the rain of your favors which pours day and night upon the souls of mu'mins, and how miraculous is your alchemic glance. O my true Lord, enrich me with the hidden wealth of humility and submission. Grant me a peaceful and comfortable place in the destination of merging, manzil-e-fana, of your delightful love, and open the door of the treasure of the secrets of recognition, ma'rifat, for me, so that I may completely forget the torments of the world, being engaged in thanking you for your everlasting favors. Praise belongs to Allah that the third part of 100 questions has now been completed and is ready to be calligraphed and printed, and God willing the fourth part is also about to be completed very soon. I am sure that 100 questions will be of great importance among my books, for it contains well-grounded and satisfactory answers to selected questions of the great Jama'at of the vast country like North America. The sound and golden principle of true knowledge should be ever remembered, that if a question is answered correctly and it contains the full light of valid logic, knowledge, wisdom, hikmat and ta'wil, i.e. esoteric meaning, and is in accordance with spiritual guidance, it solves not only the desired question, but in its light a wise person can also solve numerous other questions. Thus it can be justifiably claimed, without the slightest exaggeration, that 100 questions in reality contain solutions to thousands of questions. For the concept of true knowledge is like that of a tree, which has a trunk and a few thick branches, and then by ramification of these branches spreads into numerous other branches. Knowledge has the same order and constitution as a tree. Like the trunk and the thick branches, if the answer of a question is provided with sound and substantial knowledge in its light, the innumerable branches of the questions are solved automatically. Another example of this reality, that according to a wise man, questions are basically interlinked, is that when an ordinary person presents a list of several questions, you will realize, if you look carefully, that because of ignorance, he has repeated the one basic question several times in different ways. In any case, whatever virtues of knowledge and wisdom are contained in 100 questions, they belong to my Lord and Master, the Imam of the time, Salawatullahi alayhi wa alihi wa salamuhu, who is the fountainhead of the light of guidance and the source of knowledge and wisdom. And if there are any shortcomings in it, they belong to me, for without his kindness I am nothing. Khana-e-Hikmat and the organization of my Azizan are my Lord's precious gift to me. Hundreds of thousands of thanks are due to the Sustainer of the world that we are enduring to perform the sacred and pure service of spreading knowledge with the assistance of this sacred organization. God willing, our well-being in both worlds lies in this service. Our esteemed and wise members are aware of the fact that in this world no wealth except knowledge can reach all, without paucity, and in spending it there is ever-increasing reward. Indeed, it is only the wealth of knowledge which is ever-reaching as well as everlasting. In spreading the light of knowledge, not only do mu'mins and Muslims benefit, but the mental confusions of the entire humankind can also be removed, in pursuit of which the great nations of the world are conducting research. In the future, this research is going to be conducted on a higher level. Now, as a result of scientific progress, distances on the terrestrial globe have shrunk next to nothing. Far-flung countries have come very close to each other, and the people of the world wish to know one another in a new light. Should we sit silent in such a situation? Each nation of the world has certain useful and specific material things, such as gold, silver, etc., and utilize them for worldly gains, considering them their national capital. However, the special and tremendous thing or capital which our Jama'at has is not material, it is rather spiritual. That is, the true knowledge which is also called luminous guidance. This knowledge and guidance is our greatest capital. Therefore, it is necessary that we pay greater and greater attention to this wealth and try to gain benefit from it and let others benefit from it too. I pray that the omnipotent Lord, the provider of desires, may grant success in their virtuous religious and worldly aims to all those who participate in the service of knowledge. This prayer is not confined only to the words coined by the tongue, but is also in the subtle aspirations of the heart and soul. I pray that each subject, paragraph, sentence, word and letter of this book may pray with silent language. O God, in your infinite mercy, grant the success and eminence of both worlds to these Azizan who have participated in the cultivation of this evergreen rose garden. Amin. O Sustainer of the worlds, a humble servant, the author, August 5th, 1978. Question 51. The beads of tasbih, rosary. Why do we have 99 beads in our tasbih? Why is it divided into 3 parts of 33 beads each? Answer. In fact, there are 100 beads in the tasbih. The reason for dividing into 3 parts of 33 beads each is that in Islam, the tasbih of Fatima alayhi salam is very important. It is 33 times Allahu Akbar, God is great, 33 times Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, and 33 times Subhanallah, God is free from all attributes. And once, La ilaha illallah, there is no God except God. Thus the numbers of beads are arranged according to this blessed tasbih. Question 52. Ism-e-Azam, the supreme name. Is it possible to attain salvation without Ism-e-Azam? Is it compulsory to take Ism-e-Azam? Answer. Where Ism-e-Azam means the Imam of the time himself, salvation is impossible without this living and supreme name of God. Where it means a verbal name, salvation can be obtained even without it. For to practice with such a verbal Ism-e-Azam and to achieve success with it is only a virtue, i.e. an additional merit. If it were not possible to attain salvation without the Ism-e-Azam, the Imam would have enjoined it upon all his followers as being obligatory and compulsory. All know that such is not the case, and rather this special ibadat is for additional spiritual progress. Qari Buzurg, the great work, i.e. to practice Ism-e-Azam, is necessary for those Ismailis who want to see the spiritual miracles of the Imam of the time, or it should be undertaken by those mu'allims or teachers who have been able to acquire spiritual knowledge. Question 53. Religion and Science. Regarding science and religion, if someone lives according to science completely, is it possible for him to achieve the same marifat that can be achieved through living according to religion? Why are so many laborious experiments both in science and in religion necessary in order to reach the desired destination? Answer. If a person abandons religion completely and lives totally according to science, he cannot succeed in attaining ma'rifat. He can be successful only in science, for ma'rifat is the spiritual stage of religion, which is the recognition of the Spirit and of God, whereas science is that wisdom which pertains to the investigation and recognition of matter. Had it been possible to achieve the recognition of God and to attain ma'rifat through science, all the materialistic nations of the world who are quite successful and quite advanced in the field of science would have believed in God and worshipped Him. However, it is well known that such is not the case. Yes, it is true that proto-religion and proto-science do not disagree with each other. This means that through the true religion, one must recognize Spirit and God, and through the true science, one must observe and study the realities of matter and body, so that he may be successful in gaining all the bounties of both the worlds. The main purpose of unity of religion and science is that when a fortunate person achieves insight and complete recognition of religion, he finds that real science is in accord with the religion of nature, and there are in it the clear evidences and bright proofs of the true religion. However, the discovery of all these realities is possible only through the recognition of religion. As for the second question, why so many laborious experiments are necessary in order to reach the desired destination, the answer is that the latter, which you have already accepted, is very far. Therefore, it requires extremely laborious work. However, the final destination in both cases is so comfort-giving that whatever laborious experiments may be conducted to reach there, they are nonetheless minimal, for the desired destination is an extremely magnificent thing. Question 54. True mu'min. What are the characteristics of a true mu'min? Answer. The characteristics of a true mu'min are not outside the Quran, and these are perfect faith and good deeds. Perfect faith means believing in God and the Prophet, and after them in the living and present Imam, and to affirm him with heart and soul. Good deeds mean to follow the commandments of these three ranks, i.e., the commandments of God, the Prophet, and the Imam of the time. If you want to see the characteristics of a true mu'min in detail, read the book Pir Pandyati Jawan Mardi, for there are many ways of expressing a thing, but their meaning is the same. We can also say that the characteristics of a true mu'min are the love for and obedience to the Imam of the time, and for there include all the virtues of religion, and nothing is left out from them. Question 55. Hinduism. Here, a close friend of mine mentioned the names of some Hindu religious leaders and then asked me for my opinion for their philosophy. Answer. My dear friend, why are you so impressed by Hinduism? Why have you not first studied the great philosophy of Ismailism deeply? Then, why have you not made a comparative study of the schools of Islam, and finally the religions of the world, then the importance of asking such an unnecessary question would not have remained, and the truth and reality of Ismailism would have been clear to you. By this, I do not mean that questions should not be asked, but I mean that if a question has to be asked about a faith other than Ismailism, one should first take into consideration either the different schools of Islam or all the religions of the world. For why should so much importance be given only to the philosophy of Hindu religious leaders? Question 56. Straight path. If our faith is true and makes us walk on the straight path and unites us with God, why are people not invited towards it, so that it facilitates the ending of religious differences and quarrels and accomplishes the duty of well-being? Answer. Number 1. The Dawat, invitation of the Quran and Islam in the language of wisdom, hikmat, is the Dawat of Ismailism, which continues from the time of the Prophet to the time of resurrection. Now, it is the responsibility of the people to accept this practical dawat of the true religion, Islam, and to have recourse to the teacher of the Quran, the Imam. 2. When Islam and Ismailism are not hidden from the eyes of the people, and they make it the subject of their discussion, if this is not dawat, then what is it? If today, despite having made it the subject of their discussion, people considered it a farce, would it be possible for them on the day of resurrection to offer the excuse that they were not aware of this faith in the world? 3. In addition to this, our P's and Dais, in accordance with the commands and farmans of the Imam of their time, have done their best to spread the true knowledge. That is, they introduced the true religion to many people, the main purpose of which was to protect and strengthen the faith from the attacks of the opponents, and not the fulfillment of the argument regarding the conveying of true faith. 4. There is a prophetic tradition: the door of repentance will not close till the sun rises from the west, i.e., the time of resurrection. It should be known that the door of repentance is the true da'wat, which will be closed near the time of resurrection. 5. If this question implies, for what reason have the entire virtues of Ismailism not been revealed through knowledge and action, so that the true guidance of Islam may be evident to all? The answer is that the epitome of all the virtues of the true knowledge is the Imam of the time, and he is manifest and apparent before the people of the world. What after this is left hidden? Question 57. The wisdom of Nandi. Why do we bring Nandi to Jama'at Khana? Would it not be better to present cash instead of kind? Answer. Although cash can also be presented instead of Nandi, the wisdom of bringing Nandi to the house of God is that it is an expression of respect, reverence, and humility by the mu'min. It is a proof of sincere servitude, and it also fulfills the need of some members of the Jama'at who are in need. Therefore, in it, i.e., bringing Nandi to Jama'at Khana, not only are religious virtues hidden with respect to individuals, but it is also a source of blessing with respect to the Jama'at. Why do some of the educated youngsters of the modern age feel ashamed of rites such as Nandi? Is it because they do not like to perform the transactions of buying and selling in the house of God? Whereas the bayat, oath of allegiance itself, is also a transaction of the buying and selling of the lives of mu'mins, and in the Quran, mention is made of the transaction of the lives and wealth of mu'mins with God. Surah 9, Ayat 111. Thus, if such a pure and sacred transaction, which pertains to religion and to the other world, cannot be performed in the house of God, where else should it be performed? Question 58. Nadi Ali. What is the meaning of Nadi Ali? Answer. Nadi Aliyan Mazaral Ajaibi Tajidau Aunan Laka Fin Nawaibi Kullu Hammin Wagammin Sayanjali Biwalayatika Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali. Invoke Ali, who is the locus of manifestation of divine wonders. You will find him helpful in all calamities. Every sorrow and grief will vanish through your walayat, authority, love. O Ali, O Ali, O Ali. Question 59. Amazing. Why is there God? Answer. There is no doubt that there are different kinds of questions: good, bad, favorable and unfavorable, odd, strange and unusual. But this question is the most amazing one. The amazement does not lie in that the existence of God is denied. Rather, it lies in saying, there is God, but why? The main reason for our amazement at this question is that one accepts the existence of God, then he is necessarily accepted with all those attributes mentioned about him. Therefore, the question, why is there God, should cease to exist, while there is a complete answer in every attribute of God as to why he is there. For instance, God is there because he is the creator. God is there because he is the sustainer, Razik. God is there because he is the king. God is there because he is the cherisher, Rabb. God is there because he is the beneficent, Rahman, etc., etc. In short, each of the 100 names of God is a clear proof of the necessity and importance of God's existence. Those who believe in God's existence first clearly understand the philosophy, why there must be God. Question 60. Human reality. Why did we separate from God in the beginning? What was its cause and purpose? Answer. In this connection, whatever has come to your knowledge belongs to the rudimentary teaching of religion. In fact, with respect to our real I, we have never separated from God, and this is the greatest secret of God, that man's highest reality, the higher I, Anaye Ulvi, never comes down from its original place. Rather, only a shadow of it, i.e., of the higher I, has descended here. It is called the lower I, Anaye Sufli. First of all, it's important to see what man is. Man in the world of multiplicity is a body. In the world of spirits is a spirit. And in the world of intellects is an intellect. In the world of realities is a reality. We can also call the world of realities the world of unity, Alami Wahdat. This demonstrates that the highest reality of man is still the same as it was in pre-eternity, Azal. For unity cannot be separated from unity, nor can reality be separated from reality. This means that the concept of one reality or monoreality is correct. According to it, the human I is at least on two levels. One is on the lower level, which is the external and physical existence, and the other is on a higher level, which is the higher I, and monoreality, Hakikati Wahida, which always subsists in its original place. Thus man, with respect to his external personality, has come to this world, but with respect to his reality, is in the world of unity. Question 61. Niyaz and angels. Is the belief correct that during the ceremony of Niyaz, i.e. Abhishifa, spiritually healing water, some angels are present? Answer. Yes, it's absolutely correct. If you come to understand the reality of the existence and functions of angels in the light of knowledge of certainty, you will come to know that wherever ibadatu bandagi is performed and beliefs are put into practice, the angels of divine mercy always become present. Angels are also present where there is the divine light. Question 62. Taqiyya, religious secrecy. If Christians can openly practice all their religious beliefs, why cannot we openly practice our religious beliefs? Answer. 1. Why should it be necessary for us to follow what Christians follow, and not to observe the fundamental principles of Islam? 2. In some of our beliefs, it is necessary for us to practice taqiyya. Taqiyya is our religion, the religion of our Imams and the religion of the true messenger of God, which is Islam. 3. If you reflect for a while on the Quran, the traditions and the exemplary life of the pure Imams, you will come to know that in many matters of the religion of Islam, the principle of taqiyya has remained dominant. Therefore, it is better to practice taqiyya, for it embraces all kinds of security. 4. Islam is the religion of nature. Therefore, its law is the law of universe and the existence. That is, this law has been contravened to protect everything and every creature from dangers that occur from time to time. Thus, in religion, taqiyya means to keep secret those matters which could cause means to be in danger and could cause the followers of the Imam to face unnecessary troubles and hardship. 5. We should try and mold all our words and deeds in accordance with the holy commands and farmans of the Imam of the time, and we should not take recourse to blindly imitating others, while we have the light of guidance, Nuri Hidayat, which no one else has. 6. From the beginning of these questions to this point, all questions should hold non-Ismaili beliefs as their benchmark, and which have been asked by our brothers and sisters are wrong in their very basis. It is not correct to look at the beliefs of others and ask, such and such thing exists in such and such a religion. Why don't we have it in our religion? It is an illogical way to pose questions, and the reason for this is mentioned above. Question 63. One light, Nuri Wahid. The Holy Quran is the light of God, and Hazir Imam too, but the light is indivisible. How do we have two lights? The answer to this question is in accordance with the following diagram as explained. The main circle being the Holy Quran, Quran-e-Muqaddas, and the second circle which overlaps the first circle has got one light, Nuri Wahid, in the middle, and at the bottom the Imam of the time, Imam-e-Zaman. This is a miraculous diagram which is among the special gifts in looking at which many basic principles of knowledge and wisdom are revealed. Thus from it, the reality is clearly revealed that light is forever one, and that it is between the Holy Quran and the Imam of the time. Therefore, it is common to both of them, the Quran and the Imam. Further, although on the one hand the light is common to the Holy Quran and the true Imam, on the other hand it is related more and more to the living and present Imam. For the light speaks, and it is a living spirit, which is the spirit of Imamat and the light of the Imam. As God says, "There has come to you a light and a plain book." Surah 5, Ayat 15. This divine commandment shows that in reality the light is the Prophet and the Imam, and the plain book is the Quran. If the Quran itself were the light, then in mentioning it, i.e. the Quran, as the plain book, there would not have been a separate mention of light. To sum up, the Quran is the plain book and the Imam of the time is the light. For there is only one light and not two. If we want to say that the Quran is also light, it is correct only in the sense that the living spirit of the Quran dwells in the Imam and can speak in the Imam, otherwise not. Study the diagram carefully and try to understand this meaning. Question 64. The status of an Arif. When a person reaches the ultimate stage in Ma'rifat, attains the light and becomes like a Peer, a Prophet, and the Quran, can he at this time say, "Anal Haq," I am the truth, I am God, or not? If he can reach that ultimate stage, what is his relation to the Imam? Despite having the same divine light which is in the Imam, he cannot proclaim himself as an Imam, but with respect to light, he has the same status as that which an Imam or a Prophet has. Then why can he not proclaim his Imamat? Is this merely for the reason that he was not born in the Runari family? If so, what kind of justice is this? If God is pure, beneficent, merciful and just, why is there this preferential treatment between these two mazhars, loci of manifestations? Answer. It is true that a true Mu'min, in the light of the guidance of the true guide, reaches the perfection of Ma'rifat, and it is also true that he attains that light. However, in this, he merges in the source of light, not that he attains a light separate from this. For light is indivisible, as shown in the diagram given earlier. It is also a fact that appear in following the spirituality of the Prophet advances further and further, and there is no doubt that during this he also achieves the complete spirituality of the Quran. However, how can you say that crying Anal Haq is also a necessary miracle in this connection, whereas in fact it was the result of the personal emotion of Mansur al-Hallaj? You should not try to examine the ma'rifat of every Arif on the standard and norm of this Anal Haq only. Rather, you should try to assess his position on the basis of knowledge and ma'rifat as a whole. The relation of the Arif with the Imam is that he merges in the light of the Imam. Here the divine light which he receives is not something separate from the Imam's. Rather, he merges in the divine light which is in the Imam through the Imam himself. Thus, where did another light come from? Or when did the original light divide into two parts that the Arif would claim on that basis that he has also become an Imam? This part of the question is simplistic. Think carefully. If a piece of iron is able to be fire while living in the fire, this does not mean that it can also claim to be fire once it is separated from the fire. If it does, this claim is not right, for if the iron is fire, it is because of and by means of the fire. and its claims of being fire is correct only while it is in the fire. Another example of an arif is that of a poor man who becomes a king's friend. The king gradually divulges all the secrets of the kingdom to him, the purpose of which is to make him a confidant, not to enthrone him immediately. In this case, if the poor man wants to be a separate king, it is wrong. However, if he thinks that he has become so close to the king that he has become his soul and is his other guise, the poor man can think that he, being merged in the king's soul, has become the king, otherwise not, when being separated from the king. Question 65. Why this difference? It is said that on the right path, Sirati Mustaqim, some people are ahead and some are left behind. Since to God all children are equal, why are there some who are left behind? Religious beliefs, Aqidah, form in childhood. A person accepts religion prior to the age of 18 to 25 years without examining its depth. Then the time and opportunity pass and he cannot change his religion. He is convinced that the religion he is following is the only true religion. In this case, why should he receive spiritual punishment while he followed people who were convinced that they were right? Answer. Yes, it is true that in the view of the Quran, the traditions, reason and logic, some people are ahead on the straight path, Sirati Mustaqim, and some are left behind. For if religion is the path one walks to become close to Allah and to reach the destination of salvation, then this necessarily leads to the conclusion that some may go ahead and some may remain behind and some may even go astray. When you accept that the example of the true religion is likened to a straight path, you cannot ignore its accessories, results and consequences, which are that the people of all religions are traveling on this path, since they are not alike and equal with respect to the recognition of and obedience to the true guide, or with respect to provisions for the journey and preparations. Some of them have reached the destinations, some are left behind, and some have even gone astray. It should be known that the angel is given intellect, aql, and not nafs, animal faculty, and the animal is given only nafs and not aql, whereas man, in order that he may be tried, has been placed between the two creatures and is given both faculties. That is, man has aql as well as nafs. This is such a self-evident fact that nobody can deny it. When man was meant to be tried in the field of knowledge and action, and was given the two opposing faculties of aql and nafs, divine mercy necessitated to grant him a third faculty, so that he may thereby govern the two opposing faculties of aql and nafs. That was the faculty of will, irada, i.e., choice, ikhtiyar. Here, will or choice means to like and choose between the commands of aql and nafs. If man had no choice in this knowledge and action, the question of trial would have ceased to exist, and the presence of two opposing faculties in him would have been meaningless. When the choice and trial of a human being are established, then their consequences also become inevitable. Also, this is for the reason that a human being may rule not only over the animals, but also excel over the angels in excellence and eminence. From the worldly point of view as well, the purpose of trying someone over and over again is to elevate him more and more in excellence and rank. However, it is true that many people also fail in this trial. The example of all human beings as the children of God is correct only in the sense that God wills the well-being and betterment of the people as does a father, rather far more than father. Now, since you yourself have accepted the principle of the father-children relationship, you must not deviate from this principle. That is, all the children of a father are not equal in knowledge and skill and in obedience to his command and order. Some are obedient and some are disobedient. Thus it is natural that the father is pleased with some children and displeased with some others. Similarly, God, like a kind and well-wishing father, does not like people to transgress the law of nature. He is not happy with the punishment of their misdeeds. But natural law, which is automatic, is such that it automatically requites all kinds of deeds. For you to say religious beliefs form in one's childhood is wrong, because belief means elementary faith, iman, whereas mature and firm belief means perfect faith, iman-e-kamil. This means that respite for the improvement of belief and the correction and perfection of faith continues until the time of death. For belief in childhood is based on imitation and confirmation, but after the maturity of reason and understanding, belief, requires investigation. It is for this reason that the Quran has emphasized thinking and reflection upon every matter and every action pertaining to religion. This is the wisdom-filled da'wat, invitation of Islam, ordained to move towards investigation, tahqiq, from imitation and conformity, taqleed. In this question, one meaning has been repeated in different words, and due to the lack of knowledge or simplicity, the questioner has tried to argue on the basis of illogical premises, for instance, saying that he followed the people who were convinced that they were right. Reflect yourself for a while on this statement. Should one consider such a statement a reality or a common habit of people to say that all the people of the world think that their views are correct? If such a statement of the people can be a proof of the truthfulness of their religion, then all the religions of the world are true. But this is not possible. Question 66. Why are there difficulties in the world? If God, the Holy, is beneficent, merciful, bountiful and generous, why are there so many difficulties in this world? Why are there poverty, destitution and sickness among children? Why are there wars? Answer. 1. No matter how much we praise the attributive names of God, it is not enough, for they encompass the entire divine knowledge and wisdom and the entire law of nature as described in detail in the Quran. Regardless of the difficulties found in the world of humanity, they do not negate the beauties of His essence and attributes, nor are they contrary to the Quranic wisdom. 2. Leaving adults aside, you have raised the question of poverty, destitution and sickness of innocent children, lest we evade answering the question concerning the suffering of adults, that is the punishment of their sins. Your question is valid, but it should be remembered that suffering does not always come because of sin, but because of some other expedients also. Think of the pure lives of the prophets. Were they not more pure and innocent than children? Were they, God forbid, being punished for their misdeeds committed in their previous birth? Why did they suffer more than other human beings? You should think carefully in this respect. 3. It should also be remembered that according to Quranic wisdom, one thing has several names. For instance, from the worldly point of view, when some cash or kind is taken from someone, it can be a fine or a penalty as well as a gift. Whether it was a gift or a fine is known to the individuals or parties concerned. Similarly, suffering or affliction is not necessarily a punishment, but can also be a bandagi or a sacrifice in some cases. 4. There is a king of both the worlds who is called God. There is and has to be everything in his kingdom and Godhead. If we observe with the eye of wisdom, we will come to know that neither suffering nor sickness are meaningless, nor are all those wars which take place naturally. This does not mean that sickness should not be cured or we should not use reason and wisdom to avoid suffering. Nor should we consider wars ibadat in all cases. On the contrary, it is necessary to continue to try to eradicate suffering and tribulation. If this is not possible, we should regard them as natural calamities and believe that divine wisdom and expedience lie in them. 5. Human life is a wonderful and marvelous thing. It has very many aspects. For the human being lives not only within himself, but also in others. In a limited sense, he lives a personal and individual life and has a somewhat small separate world of his imagination, thoughts, words and deeds, whose account in a way is separate and personal. However, it is an undeniable fact that he also has a homely and family life, the condition of which is such that sometimes he suffers because of his family members and sometimes they give him great joy. Why should there be wonder in this? For this is the unity and integrity of the family, and the members of the family are like the limbs and parts of each other. In wise people's view, this same example is applicable to that life which he lives with the people of a town, city and country. This means that he cannot remain indifferent to and disinterested in the problems of the collective life of any stratum, nor can he remain isolated from the results and consequences of the collective good or bad of his country and nation. 6. Similarly, every follower of a faith also has a communal and a religious life, and the final and greatest life of all kinds of people is the one towards which they have to return, willingly or unwillingly. Surah 3, Ayat 83, which is such a universal life that in it all the souls of the people, found from pre-eternity to post-eternity, live as a single soul. Surah 31, Ayah 28. As God says, your creation in pre-eternity and your resurrection in post-eternity are both as one soul, i.e., the universal soul. That is, all of you are one in the universal soul. If you create the eye of certainty in yourself, you will see how, despite your being a single drop of soul, you are one in the ocean of the universal soul. To sum up the above elaboration both from the worldly and the religious point of view, the meritorious deeds of the individual and all sorts of collective lives of man cannot be accomplished without difficulties. For the greatest happiness and the greatest pride for man in this world and in the hereafter is in enduring the hardest difficulties and suffering in the path of God and in the offering the greatest sacrifices for the sake of his creatures. Therefore, although the heavy punishment of not recognizing God is valid in its own place, yet finally a time has come in which the people of all religions have together in God's infinite mercy. Question 67. Shariat. Is it true that when one reaches the stage of tariqat or haqiqat, he dispenses with the shariat? Answer. No, not at all. This statement is not true. Shariat cannot be completely dispensed with, because everything in religion consists of the four elements of shariat, tariqat, haqiqat and ma'arifat. However, it is certainly true that if in one thing shariat is dominant, in another tariqat, and in a third haqiqat, and in a fourth thing ma'rifat is dominant, without excluding any of them. For further elaboration, see the end of one of my books, 8 Questions Answered. Question 68. Imamat and women. What is the reason or ta'wil that the prophets and imams have always been men and women and have never been exalted to the rank of prophethood or imamat? Answer. Prior to answering this question, definitely let us make some allusions to the position of a woman in Islam. It is a self-evident and undeniable fact that it was a woman who gave birth to the noble prophets and the great imams. It was she who continued to perform the sacred duty of their physical and moral upbringing, and it was she who was, as the noblest mother in the entire world, took those perfect men who were to guide and hold the hand of people in the future in her holy lap and embraced them with the utmost affection and love. How lucky and exalted were those great and revered mothers from whose children there arose a prophet or an imam of the time. How fortunate and auspicious were those women chosen by God who had the greatest honor of being the companions of prophets and imams. How great were the favor, grace and kindness of the Lord of the world upon the sisters and daughters of the prophets and imams, that they were living very close to the fountainhead of heavenly knowledge and wisdom. In this respect, one useful suggestion is that you must study carefully the Quranic verses about the noble mother of Moses alayhi salam and the affectionate mother of Jesus alayhi salam. How revelation became possible for them, and how the angels conversed with them, so that you will be able to assess the position of a woman and her spiritual progress in the religion of nature, Islam. In the world of Islam, the glory, magnanimity, purity and holiness of the pure Ahlul Bayt, i.e. the Panjatan-e-Pak, 5 holy persons' grandeur and sanctity, is a universal accepted fact in which no righteous Muslim has the slightest doubt. It is an evident fact that one noble person among them was a lady, whose blessed name was Fatima-yi Zahra alayha salam, and whose title was Khatun-i-Jannat, the Lady of Paradise. She was that glorious example of the manifestation of the light of the sacred world, Alim-i-Quds, and the cleanest mirror of the beauty of divine manners, which were possible only in the corporeality and humanity of a miraculous lady who is in the rank of a wali. By recognizing her, religious and pious ladies with angelic characters may have ample encouragement in their spiritual progress and elevation. It is true that despite having all these above-mentioned excellencies and exalted attributes, no chosen lady has been able to succeed to the sublime office of prophethood or imamat. The reason for this is not exoteric, rather it is esoteric, ta'wil, which follows as under. The prophet, imam and teacher are men spiritually, whereas the community follower and student are women spiritually. Thus, if a woman, despite the presence of man, would have been a prophet or an imam, the ta'wili allusion of this would be that God forbid, the prophet should obey the community, the imam should obey the commandment of his follower, and the teacher should learn from the student. This would have been against the law of nature, and therefore no woman has ever been a prophet or an imam. See also the answer to question 97 in the fourth part of this book, 100 Questions. Question 69. The station of Ma'arifat. When does a person reach the station of Ma'arifat? During his lifetime or after death? Answer. The supreme purpose of man's coming to this world is ibadat and Ma'arifat, God's worship and His recognition. Therefore, this should be accomplished in this world and in this life, not after death in the next world. For in this field of action, the primary test is the evaluation and assessment of his ibadat and ma'rifat. 2. According to the wise Quran, whoso is blind here will be blind in the hereafter, yet more astray from the path. Surah 17, Ayat 72. This allusion is to the recognition of God and the recognition of the soul, called Ma'rifat. This also shows clearly that the attainment of the basic Ma'rifat is possible in the very life of this world. Question 70. Ismaili Jamaat. How should we explain our faith to others when the need arises? Why do we not allow non-Ismailis to come to our congregation, Jama'at, while others do not do so? Answer. Until we have sufficient literature, to how many people and to what extent would we be able to explain our faith solely on a verbal basis? Therefore, it is necessary to have a considerable stock of books on a variety of subjects so that our faith may gradually be introduced to others, questions may cease to exist, and doubts and suspicions be removed. It is obvious that the work that we can achieve through literature cannot be achieved verbally. Further, even a better verbal introduction to our faith is possible only in the light of books, without which we cannot do much. As for the answer to the second question, why we do not allow non-Ismailis to our special circle, Jama'at, it is because our faith is esoteric, spiritual, and based on ta'wil. Therefore, it is not possible for every individual to comprehend it. All its virtues are hidden in secrets, and for most of its teachings are the secrets of hakikat and ma'rifat. Therefore, non-Ismailis will not benefit from participating in our beliefs and rites and rituals, nor would we benefit from their attendance. Other faiths are not esoteric, spiritual, and based on ta'wil. They are exoteric faiths. Whatever is exoteric is open to everybody's view, and therefore it is not difficult to understand. However, the reality and wisdom of the Ismailism, which are hidden, are very difficult to understand. One brief proof in this connection is that the confession of God's existence and His oneness is easy for people, but believing in the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam messengership is comparatively difficult. Again, it is easy to accept the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's messengership, but to accept Ali's alayhi salam's walayat and imamat is extremely difficult. Likewise, regarding imamat and Ismailism, the more we move from the past to the present, the more difficult it becomes for people to accept, for which there are several reasons. Question 71. clothes for the deceased. What is the ta'wil of the clothes and the sufras which are presented for the sake of the deceased? Can a deceased soul meet those of his relatives who had passed away before him? Answer. The presentation of clothes and sufras is a belief and ritual and a way of conveying reward to the deceased. This, however, does not mean that the deceased soul needs clothes and food. It is a sacrifice, sadaqah, which is given from the available and ready things, and prayers are offered for reward to the soul of the deceased mu'min. Indeed, the deceased soul, in the case of achieving salvation, can see his relatives whether alive or deceased. For in the hereafter there is spirituality, and in spirituality everything is possible because the soul of everyone is present everywhere. Question 72. The meaning of Imam. What is the meaning of Imam, while in our literature it means religious guide? Answer. Literally, Imam means chief, leader, guide, i.e., the one who is followed. Imam also means a path, which you can see in verse Surah 15, Ayat 79 of the Holy Quran. If the Imam is a path, which path is he? He is the straight path, Sirati Mustaqim. As Qazi Nu'man explains, Sirat literally means the path. Here, the Imam is likened to a path because he who follows the path never goes astray. Similarly, he who follows the Imam never goes astray. Thus, here by path is meant the Imam, not the trodden path on the earth. Question 73. Spiritual guide, Piru Murshid. Is there a need for an external guru, Pir or Murshid? Answer. You have posed an incomplete and ambiguous question. It is not clear whether the question is about the necessity and importance of the Imam, or a Pir, or a Mu'allim, teacher. Whatever it may be, we will discuss it on both levels. If by Guru you mean the Imam, then the existence of the Imam is extremely necessary, always in every condition, for guidance on Sirati Mustaqim is possible without the Imam of the time. If by Guru you mean a rank above the Imam, then that too is necessary. The importance and necessity of the Imam of the time and the bounties and blessings which the religion continues to receive from him are mentioned everywhere in this book. Regarding this, true Ismailis have no doubt at all. However, it is important to ask at the present time after the Imam, i.e., under the Imam, is there a need for teachers, wa'izin, and scholars or not? In order to attain this goal, do any large institutions run in the world of Ismailism on behalf of Imam or not? The answer is definitely positive. This means that these institutions and these personnel are successors to the Hujjats, Dais and Pirs of our past. Whatever may be their names and titles, the duty of work and the service of knowledge are the same as they used to be in the past. The doors of progress in knowledge and spirituality are still as completely open as they used to be in the past. If you keep in view of all those blessed farmans of Maulana Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah alayhi salam pertaining to the progress of true mu'mins in knowledge and spirituality, the full enthusiasm of progressing and working like peers will be created in your heart even without a title. Question 74. Synonym of the word Imam. Is there a synonym for Imam in the Vedanta philosophy? Answer. It should be understood that words and terms are different. Thus, synonyms for the literal meaning of the word Imam are found not only in the Vedic philosophy, but in all religions and all languages. But as a technical term, Imam is found nowhere except in the true religion, the reason for which is the existence of the light of Imamat in the eternal religion, Deen-e-Qadim, of God. That is, this specific term has been coined where the Imam existed. If other people do not have the concept of Imamat, then how can they accept such a term in its technical sense? It is possible for this term to exist only where there is the existence of the Imam. Take the word Rasul for instance. It has two meanings, literal and technical. Literally it means messenger, envoy and ambassador, and technically it means that perfect man who has been sent by God and who also brings a book from God. Now the word Rasul in the literal sense is used in every nation and every country, but technically it is used only among those nations to which God has at some time sent a messenger. Contrary to this, for those who deny God's existence and who do not accept any messenger and religion, this word cannot be found in the technical sense. Similarly, the term Imam in its technical sense exists only in that community in which an Imam actually continues to come. Therefore, we have to accept that such a term does not exist in the Vedic philosophy. It is, however, true that in accordance with the system of the universal hidden guidance of the true Imam, there has been a guide in every religion who guides the people according to the level of that religion. For there are 24 hujjats of the night and the day who are appointed by the exalted Imam in the 12 islands of the world. Question 75. Non-Ismaili. If a non-Ismaili can attain the highest spiritual rank, what is the need for an Imam? Answer. You have not presented an example or proof of the possibility mentioned in your question. Also, your question has the logical defect that for salvation or spiritual elevation, you have alluded to only one non-Ismaili, and that one too is unknown. If by this allusion you mean a person like Mansur Halaj, you need to investigate historically whether or not he was an Ismaili. Even if he is considered to be only a Sufi, he cannot dispense with the Imam's universal guidance, for there are in this world 12 hujjats of the night and 12 hujjats of the day on behalf of the Imam, through whom the people of the world receive the Imam's guidance according to their status. As for the Sufis, they are very close to the Ismailis. When we accept that the true Imam is the vicegerent and representative of God and the Prophet in connection with guiding the people, we have to also accept that just as God is the sustainer of the worlds and the Prophet is a mercy for the worlds, the Imam of the time is the fountainhead of guidance for all the people of the world. However, religions as well as the people of the religions of the world are in different grades. Therefore, each religion and each individual receives the guidance of the Imam according to their status. It is necessary to try to see, listen and understand everything from its root or basis. Thus, if it is understood that there is no creature without the Creator and there is no religion without a Prophet, there cannot be guidance without the Imam of the time. Had it been possible to have guidance without the Imam, there would have been no need for a successor after the Prophet. However, since it is true that the Prophet had a successor by necessity, then we have to search for his whereabouts and his identity. It is obvious that such a true successor is only the Imam of the time, for it is he who is living and present with all the virtues of the Imamat and Caliphate in every age.